The man beamed. "Thank you, my lord." I had learned in Elsdon that often men will work twice as hard if they are praised and complimented. It cost nothing, and it bred loyalty. My steward was Paul, son of Michael. As soon as he had escorted Roger out of my hall, he hurried back and was followed closely by Geoffrey of Lyon, my squire. "Geoffrey, saddle our horses. We ride abroad."
"We need men with us, lord?"
"A dozen, archers and men-at-arms equally." He hurried off. I could rely on him. "Paul, I need a rider to take a message to my father. By the time you return, it will be written." As he left me, I stood and went to fetch parchment, ink, and quill. It was unlikely that the raiders would be a danger to my father. It took a couple of days to sail up to Stockton, and riders could cut off any ship which attacked the villages along the river before they made it to sea again. However, he needed to be warned. I was succinct and had the letter sealed when my steward brought in Rafe, one of those who worked in the stables. Paul had made a good choice, for Rafe was an excellent horseman. Too slight to be a man-at-arms, and without the training to be an archer, he would become a good horsemaster in time. "Ride to Stockton and deliver this to my father. Await a reply and tell him that I will ride to Snook Point at the mouth of the river to look for signs." "Yes, lord." I reached the stables and found that my men were ready. Geoffrey had included Eric Redhair with the men. He was a good choice, for he was a Viking, and whilst not a pirate himself, he would have an insight into such raiders. Jed Strongbow led my archers. None of us wore mail, but Geoffrey had fetched me a brigandine and mail coif. I donned my arming cap and coif and then fastened my leather brigandine. I was a knight, and always had my sword. I mounted my hackney, Destiny, and then fastened my cloak around my neck. "We ride to Snook Point. Fishermen have reported raiders. We will use the beach and ride close to the dunes. The tide is on the way out and we can use the hard sand." Eric said, "Is it one ship or two, lord?" I dug my heels into Destiny's flanks as we headed for the gate in the town wall. The fishermen said a snekker and a drekker. "Then we do not have enough men, lord." "We have enough men to disturb them and to ascertain the veracity of the fishermen's report. It was dark when they saw them." Eric knew the type of ships, and as we rode the few miles and passed Seaton Carew, he told me of the difference. "A snekker might have just 4 oars a side, while a drekker can have up to 30. It is unlikely to be such a large drekker, but the crews of the 2 ships might be as many as 50 or 60 men." Tom of Rydal and Alan Longsword were my most experienced men-at-arms, and they rode at my side. Alan shook his head. "There is nothing for them here, lord. Snook Point just has seals and the few men who hunt them. Perhaps they come just to hunt seals. This is the time of year when they bask on the sands of the estuary and are easy to hunt." Eric laughed. "You do not come with a snekker and a drekker to hunt seals." I waved an irritated hand. "It is idle speculation. There is Greenabella, the home of Peter Seal and his family. They will tell us what they have seen." The land was still in the grip of winter, and few men stepped far from their home and their fires. But fishermen and sealers would have to go out just to feed their families. Peter Seal had a large family, and they lived in the upturned hull of a large ship which had foundered on the rocks of Longscar when Peter's father had been alive. They had made it into a most comfortable house. 6 men and their families lived there, and they made a living hunting the seals and rendering their flesh into oil. The sealskin boots their wives made were highly prized. There was always a column of smoke from the hall, as they had to keep the fires burning to render the flesh as well as to keep them warm. However, as we neared the hall, I realized that this was a different fire. The hall was burning. I drew my sword, and my men emulated me as we left the sands to cross the dunes to see what had happened. It was all too clear even before we reached the burning home. The bodies of the men lay where they had fallen. They had fought hard, and I saw many footprints around them. While my archers knocked their arrows, I waved Tom of Rydal and Geoffrey to search the hall. I rode with Alan Longsword and Eric Redhair. We followed the trail down to the sea.